computers are useless unless you don't know how to use them. Computers are useless unless you don't know how to use them. Where do you think the error is? Okay, so if you look at this context, right, you can clearly, your clue word is unless, which means except if, right? It always brings in a condition. So after the condition, they are saying computers are useless. Already there is a negative meaning here, right? So unless, meaning the exception being, you have to know how to use them, right? So when you know how to use them, then it's no longer useless. That's the meaning, which means the error in part C, right? And I need to delete this don't, because I can't have two parts giving me a negative meaning, right? Computers are useless is already negative, and then I have the clue word unless, which means except if you know how to use them. That's the correct meaning, right? That completes meaning logically in the context. So the error is in part C. As soon as we delete don't, then the entire context makes sense. So now I say computers are useless unless, except if you know how to use them, right? This is our correct phrase completing meaning. So these are errors pertaining to double negatives, right? Where I need to look at the context closely and understand, are there parts which are giving me the same, like already I have the part A expressing a negative meaning, and then again I have part C which is again expressing a negative meaning, which just doesn't make the sentence logically correct, right? I need to identify that sort of a concept, which is nothing but double negatives, right? And then remove the one which is incorrect in terms of expressing negative meaning, which in our case is part C here in this context, and then the sentence is correct. The sun hadn't hardly set when the mosquitoes began to sting so annoyingly that we had to run off from the playground. The sun hadn't hardly set when the mosquitoes began to sting so annoyingly that we had to run off from the playground. Where do you think the error is? Yeah, if you pay attention, again our clue word in part A is hardly, right? Error is in part A. Why so? Because hardly itself means what? Not much, right? Or barely, or slightly, or almost not, right? These are the meanings of hardly, or only just, right? So hardly itself expresses negative meaning, which means I don't need this had not, no? So what I need to change is hadn't is nothing but the contracted form of had not. So what I need to do is I need to remove this not, and then I change the part to the sun had hardly set when the mosquitoes. So if I have to rephrase this entire sentence, I'll say hardly had the sun set, right? There are cases where these negative adverbs like hardly and scarcely even come in the middle of the sentence, like this context. But nevertheless, right, hardly had the sun set when the mosquitoes began to sting. If I had to rephrase the context, that's how it will be, right? So I don't say hardly had not the sun set, because hardly itself brings in that meaning, right? Barely, almost not, only just. Yeah, so remember, double negatives. Anything that is giving me negative meaning twice, which is nothing but double negatives, right? I'll have to look for those errors and pick the right answer. Many people in Bangladesh don't scarcely know about the hardships that the Chakma refugees are experiencing. Where is the error? So having looked at this context, many people in Bangladesh don't scarcely know about the hardships that the Chakma refugees are experiencing. So as soon as you look at this, right, if you're paying attention, you know that the error is in part B. Why so? I'm saying the error is in part B. Can you spot why part B something is wrong? Because scarcely itself means what? Hardly, right? Many people in Bangladesh scarcely know about the hardships. Barely, right? That's the meaning that scarcely brings in, right? Which is already negative in meaning. So which means what is not required there? don't, right? Double negative, something that we need to avoid, right? So because scarcely itself brings in, a negative meaning, which is, talking about almost not, or hardly, or barely, or only just, right? So many people in Bangladesh, I don't need this don't. We have to omit don't. Now these kind of errors, I would say it kind of wavers between superfluous and double negatives, right? I don't need this don't here because already scarcely is bringing in the meaning of, bringing in that negative meaning. So many people in Bangladesh scarcely know about the hardships that the Chakma refugees are experiencing. Not don't, scarcely. Double negatives. Yeah? We will categorize, them in under double negatives because it's very, very obvious. Both are giving me negative meaning. I don't need that. He hesitated to accept the past as he did not think the salary would not be enough for a man with a family of 10. Have you been able to identify which part has the error here? Let's look at it. He hesitated to accept the past as he did not think the salary would not be enough for a man with a family of 10. Are you able to understand the context? There are just too many negative meanings unnecessarily, right? Because it already says in part B, he did not think the salary. Again, why do I need this not here in part C? Doesn't make sense, no? If I delete that, then the meaning is correct. He hesitated to accept the past. Why? As he did not think the salary would be enough. Not would not be enough. Because here already I have did not think. Are you following? So the error is in part C. So these can be a little confusing if you're not paying attention. You need to delete not. Why? Because I already have that meaning coming in part B. He did not think the salary would be enough for a man with a family of 10. That makes sense. Yeah? So these are all errors pertaining to double negatives. Bringing in, I already have a negative meaning coming in a part, and then I again have an unnecessary word so which means you need to look out for this not, right, in a context, and see if there's already a negative meaning coming in the sentence. She denied that she did not commit the crime. She denied that she did not commit the crime. Where do you think the error is? Easy one, part B. Henna. Again, I don't need not after did because denied itself means what? That she's not accepting that she did the crime. Henna. So because denied is saying not accepting that she did commit the crime, right? Denied is a negative word, yeah, no problem. It's already bringing in negative meaning. So which means I don't need this not again in part B. So the error is in part B where I need to delete not. Following? So these are all errors pertaining to double negatives. Yeah.